Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it was sent to me by one of our admins, and the message reads like this. Hello, my brother. How are you? I want to tell you my own story. This has been happening to me. Please post for me. I've been dancing with mermaids. When I was indoors, I felt very cold despite our house having the latest heating system. I would go and I would sit outside of the house, but I would feel so much heat to the point of wanting to take a very cold shower just for immediate relief. I was taken to different specialists to try and to see what was the hell that was wrong with me, but the doctors could not find anything that was wrong with me. My mom had gotten me thermal clothing to help with the coldness, but it was just nothing but a temporary relief. I even had a room renovated so that the sun would come in when I felt cold, but this was not helping at all. I had come to accept that I had a problem that nobody could help me with, but deep down inside, I was harboring a secret. I could dream a dream about someone or something, and that dream would come to pass. One day, I had a dream. My uncle was in handcuffs. He was chained, and the officers coming to arrest him, coming to our house. It happened as I had this dream. Uncle was taken in for stock theft, just like I had seen him in the dream. That is exactly that happened. It was like I was watching a movie. Some things I had learned to keep them to myself because some relatives had started to accuse me of things that I did not like hearing, saying that I was a witch, which was not true, of course, as I did not even know how to prepare even a tummy concoction. But the problems was that I used to have a lot of dreams whereby I could see some people dying in our village, those ones that were really sick. I could actually pinpoint the date as it was shot to me in the dreams, and I would know that this person is going to die on such a date. So since I was very young, I thought that by telling the relatives of the person that was really sick about the death of their sick relative, this was going to help them at least know that indeed they were trying to make their relative a little bit better, but it had already been written in the spiritual world that this person is going to die. So people started to call me a little witch. I was no longer going to school because I was forever sick, either too cold to stay in class or too hot to stay outdoors. Money was not a problem to my parents. They were in the gold buying and selling business, so I had everything catered for. In fact, I was a little princess, the apple of my father's eye. Father was very fond of me. I was like his everything. So one day we went holidaying, just the three of us, to a popular holiday destination. And because it was too hot, we then decided to take a swim. Swimming gave me this unexplainable joy, and I felt at peace. I looked and there was a wave like forming, coming to me. I felt my legs being pulled down by something. I screamed for help from mom and dad, but the wave like wind threw mom and dad out of the water, continuing to pull me down. Last I heard was my mom screaming with horror, and when I woke up, I was in a dry land, in a completely new world, a new world that I had not even known to have existed. Was I dreaming? It seemed like I was being expected, like they already knew that I was coming on that day because there was a welcoming party for me. At first, I was confused to what was happening, but the Queen Mother assured me that I was home. What home? Where is this home? The Queen Mother looked at me pitifully and began explaining to me my life's history. Both my parents were dead, whom I called my mom and dad were not really my biological parents. My biological mother was a mermaid who had been sent on a mission but ended up falling in love with my father. My mother had not been a pure mermaid, for she could change form in any way she liked. I will try to explain this to you. Yes, it is very confusing, I know. My mother had been the Queen Mother's only daughter, and so she was a princess in the mermaid world. So she had been next in line to the throne when she committed a sin by mating with my father and thereby carrying me. To the mermaid culture, this is like totally forbidden, for she had defiled herself by mating with a human. Because the stories that I heard was that when there was a war, the war that is written in this other book, and in that war, the reason as to why a lot of the angels were punished, it was because they had had children with the children of men. So my mom had done a thing that was forbidden, because most of the mermaids that survived the flood were the ones that had not defiled their bodies sleeping with humans. So those are the mermaids that are still living under the oceans and in the rivers. In Africa, they are called in Africa, they are known to reside in the rivers, but in other cultures, they do reside in the oceans. Yes, there is an entire civilization out there where still my mother had slept with a man who had no merman blood running through him, so she could no longer return to her place. When I say merman blood, you see those people that are said to have relatives that are regularly taken into the river, then they come back as traditional healers. So this thing, it does not happen by pure accident. Rules are meant to be followed and they are not meant to be broken, because this is the reason as to why her own ancestors were able to survive the flood, because the flood only came to destroy those families that had mated with other humans. My mother had crossed the line, so they had to kill her. At first, it had been decided that she and the child was supposed to die. The child that she was carrying should die, but the Queen Mother had been against it, saying that I was nothing but innocent blood. Besides, I had inherited the rare skills by virtue of my mother carrying me, so one day I will be useful to their own kingdom. The mermaids, indeed, they have their own kingdom and they live on dry land, just like us human beings do on earth, because there is another earth that is inside this earth that we cannot see. They can even come shopping when they fancy, but it takes one with the spiritual eye to see them, and no one has a photograph of a real mermaid because of the mythical nature. One day I had been sunbasking and a photographer had taken a picture, but when it was time to see his pictures, it appeared blank. Yes, that is how it is. I was home. The Queen Mother told me I commanded respect because I was her grandchild, and she taught me everything about different trees and their uses. Each and every person that is living today, they can actually be traced back to their original ancestor. Yes, indeed. I was then showed the family line going back to the original ancestor, the fallen one, but I was not at peace. I knew my parents who raised me were not at peace, for they were looking for me. I could even see in the spirit that they were besides themselves with grief. So I pleaded with the Queen Mother to grant me a pass so that I could go and see them freely. My wish was granted, and when I went to see them, they were spooked. I narrated my story to them, and mother was crying the whole time, for I thought that I was crazy. And my father was calm and told me that he knew that there was something that was special about me. From the moment that they had saw me in the orphanage, he said that his heart had been drawn to my crib and he wanted to adopt me there and then. He said that when they adopted me, their financial status had changed from being poor to wealthy. He said that I had come with riches and I was going to forever be his daughter, and that is the reason as to why they kept me. And this was the truth, because when I look at my stepdad's family, I can see that there is nothing but poverty there. At school, I was someone that was highly intelligent, and I was also privileged, because from the moment that I came into my parents' lives, their own lives improved, and I grew up having a privileged life. I used to go around with the minister's kids. That is how much privileged I was. The Queen Mother later explained to me that I should not expose myself too much to direct sunlight, as I am half human and half mermaid, and that I should soak myself in water now and then to avoid feeling too cold. So this is my own story. I have my own roots in the kingdom of the marine. Yes, people, they do hate the marine kingdom, but it is not all that bad. Dear listeners, right there was the first message that was sent to me by our admins. Strange things do happen in this world. She is saying that those people that are always having cold feet even when it's hot, she's saying that those people, they belong to the marine spirit. For the reason as to why they have cold feet, it is because of their DNA. Somewhere in their family's history, it once happened that maybe their father had intercourse with an angel, and a marine spirit was then born. Very confusing, and strange things do happen in this world.